Well, howdy partner, welcome back to LEC Summer. The sun is shining, or at least the artificial one, by which we can't tan from the lights, can we?
No, unfortunately not.
Why am I so brown then? I only sit in front of studio lights. It makes no sense. Vedius is here, we do have Ender of course behind us as well, and soon we'll be getting to watch two of our upset teams from yesterday in action, as Astralis and Schalke 04 fight for a monumental win to continue their climb towards playoffs and to end the week undefeated. Let's start with the German squad though, because yesterday was a silver lining during an otherwise tough week, both in news and results.
It certainly was. I think that coming into the weekend, there was, a bit of a sour tone towards Schalke, given that they will be departing the league at the end of the year. But the players showed up yesterday. We knew it would be a scrappy game when playing against a team like Fnatic. Did not expect them to come out ahead in many of the skirmishes that they are able to find. And it seemed like NUCLEARINT was on form, landing multiple clutch gold cards. He was having consistent impact throughout the map. And also Schalke, it was just in these fights that they were consistently coming up clutch.
And a lot of the time it was Fnatic that were on the offense, like in this play in the jungle, diving in pretty deep, and it was Schalke managing to kite it out, survive with very low HP bars. I felt like compositionally they had a great kit for being able to kite on back with the Kindred ult, the Galio ultimate, those gold cards were getting down to like 3-second cooldowns. NUCLEARINT was just pumping those out. It was really smart draft, really good execution on said draft in these skirmishes, which ultimately allowed NUCLEARINT to get like 11 kills. He was 11, 1, and 8 at the end of the game, and dancing the whole way through. You love to see it.
Yeah, and you can see what it meant to them. My question quickly, Vedius, is do you think that this is going to, this is more than just a W in the column, as it does break that crust, that ring rust, and that mental of feeling like you haven't broken the first win?
It certainly does. We heard it from BrokenBlade yesterday, and I think that it's just very evident. Schalke has always been a momentum-based team. A lot of that came off the back of Gilius being on that roster, who, when he starts winning, he really doesn't stop. He really starts the going. But with him departing the roster, I think that the team needed to find that flavor. They needed to find that Kickstarter to get them going, and now they finally got it. And a big win against Astralis today could start their big win streak and potentially take them to playoffs.
Yeah. Now, while Fnatic's 5-game winning streak did come to an end yesterday, so did Astralis' 5-game losing streak. Perhaps the star has got some shine left in it. And not only that, against Vitality Ender. These boys, we were getting hyped up about the Vitality undefeated week, and they're just taken down a peg by Astralis.
Absolutely, I felt like MagiFelix was able to bounce back after a tough early game. You see on the map during that play, he didn't have either of his mid lane towers left, but he's able to find picks on side lanes, and then Jeskla's damage combined with MagiFelix's complete lack of fear, diving underneath towers. It was another game where in those fights, mid laners looked good, Jeskla's flashing it on the Aphelios. It was really solid from them again to bounce back after Leader was dominating the mid lane for a lot of that.
I think Vedius, they might have heard us when we were smack-talking mid-laners saying they're not having much impact in this season. It seems like they all reacted.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. And I think that especially in that matchup, MagiFelix was put very far behind in the early game. And it was also talking about a bit in the cast yesterday. I was saying that compositionally, I felt like it was going to be a tough game for them. Like, their ability to engage was not that strong. They needed the enemy to come into them, but enemy's comp was very good at kiting, keeping them at arm's length. But they found great TP flanks. promisq suddenly stepped up massively on his Thresh, and it felt like that they found multiple picks on a side, and like everything they needed to do with the comp that they drafted, they executed upon. So like, I don't know if, the sunshine has come out and suddenly revitalized this Astralis roster, and now they're suddenly like all about it, but it's crazy. Could it have been a flash in the pan, or is this the new Astralis? This game is definitely going to give us a good indicator.
Yeah, certainly. And the biggest question I think that we all have on our lips is, why does Vedius look so good in pink blue? Like, this palette's brand new to you, but like, the flower as well, it just rounds it all out.
I love the flower. I've never had a flower.
I don't know, just you're popping. Like, I kept checking you out just this entire segment. There's something about the pink and the white. Yes, but we will, however, see who pulls off the 2-0 week as we leave it in the very capable hands of the dulcet tones of Excoundrel and Foxdrop for Astralis Schalke.
To be honest with you, Alex, I think the whole Vedius clan is just incredibly attractive. I mean, every single member of his family, they really are something else. I've got to say, Vedius, you should keep the flower. It looks beautiful. Yeah, thank you very much here, myself and Foxdrop, for the second game of the day. It is Schalke versus Astralis, and who will get that 2-0 week? Because both of them, surely, as we heard from BrokenBlade in the interview, should be full of confidence coming into this match.
Yeah, 1-0 on the week so far, and these are two teams who've been struggling quite a lot recently as well. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting to see which one which one can come out on top, because I mean, I've heard, you know, stoppable force and movable object phrases before. I don't really think that's fair to say anymore based off of the game that happened yesterday. Like, I think these two teams are actually looking pretty good, so we'll see if they can continue that form. Not going to be easy to do. Both these teams very confident after yesterday.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Schalke are a team that clearly have high highs, but have obviously had a couple of low lows as well. Astralis have definitely been a bit hit or miss throughout the season. And I think often both of them feel very draft dependent. Like, they have very areas of the map which are really, really strong. Like yesterday, like MagiFelix had a tough early game, but then he just impacted the map way more than Leader was able to, and obviously was a big driver in their win. That, you know, Ender called it at the start of the day. It felt like a bit of mid-diff in a lot of the games, despite, you know, MagiFelix getting solo killed in his game. And Schalke, like, they had a massive impact. NUCLEARINT just accelerated that bot lane yesterday, and they took over through that. So NUCLEARINT and Magi coming into this game had some excellent performances on Friday.
Definitely. And I think something that's really, really inspiring for fans of both these squads is that they weren't just stomps where you get ahead early and you close it out. They were pretty hard fought wins. It was looking pretty like back and forth for both of these squads. The fact that you can actually bring victory, you know, in games that are not that easy to win once you're in that 20-25 minute mark or whatever, when you're still even and you find a way to win, I think that's a sign of a good team. So I think that both Astralis and Schalke coming into this one are going to be pretty evenly matched, actually, as we're seeing the bans come through hard and fast. The Trundle ban against Zanzarah. Oh, man. I mean, this guy's just been banned out.
They tweeted it. They were like, don't ban Trundle. Viego first pick here for Schalke. And actually, another little thing. Schalke, Astralis rather, were on a 5-game loss streak until they got that win yesterday. They broke their loss streak, and often momentum does play a bit of a part in the way that you perform and that confidence that it brings to you. So we'll see if it has an impact. Lucian is locked in. Ezreal, which we know is a strong pick in the current meta, does come through here for Astralis. So they lock in a double AD carry rotation here on red side.
Okay, I really, really want to see Schalke lock in their bot right here, because I feel like when I was watching yesterday, when I was watching Schalke play, they were so good at playing through bot lane. Neon Unlimited in the 2v2 versus Fnatic was just really, really solid, and that's saying a lot considering Upset and Hillsang considered like the best 2v2 in the ADC. And a lot of what Schalke was able to do, especially with those early dragons which turned into the Soul and then the Elder and whatnot, was because they played through what Neon and Limit were able to do in the lane phase. You know you're going up against an Ez. If you can pick something that you can win you that lane that you know is going to have priority, I feel like there's a lot of value to doing that. And there it is. There's going to be that Tristana lock-in right here. I think she's a little shorter than that, I'm not going to lie, LEC. I don't, like, on the screen, she's looking pretty tall right there. But yes, it's going to be the teeny weeny Tristana bot side. And honestly, a really good pickup here for Neon, one of his good champions.
That is interesting. We don't see too much Ryze in the current meta, so it is interesting that we see that it gets locked in here for Schalke, but maybe a way of just having consistent wave clear, a way of single target lockdown, which might be important versus very highly mobile carries. We'll see a Braum lock-in for Astralis as we head into this second ban phase. They'll immediately ban out the Lulu, which Lulu has been, if you've been keeping an eye on the meta, has been kind of popping back up, especially in mid lane. We sometimes see it in top. The LCK love it as a pick. And it's just a couple of support bans, though, for Astralis, with the Lulu and the Rakan taken away.
I feel like these Enchanter supports, pretty good takeaway against the Braum Ez here. I'm actually quite curious to see what Limit decides to play, actually, as a support. Going back to the Ryze pick, however, for NUCLEARINT, I think as well there's benefits to picking this one because it is the most played champion so far in LEC. He's very comfortable on this. We saw it a lot in the regional leagues as well when he was playing down there. And I think as well going into the Lucian, which you're assuming it's going to be the Lucian mid. In fact, it's almost 100% going to be the Lucian mid. It's another champion, a bit like Victor, a bit like Kali and these kind of things, who can just play a little bit chill in the lane phase and lose gracefully against Lucian, which can otherwise be pretty hard to do. Let's see here what Zanzarah goes for his jungle pick. Ooh, okay, it's going to be Gragas. That might be Gragas top side for WhiteKnight, but you can see here, it's a bit of a flex holding on right there. Look at those belly physics going through from Gragas.
The belly physics, mate. You just weren't expecting that top tier belly physics.
The jiggle, blimey. Sorry, that caught me off guard.
Sorry, you cracked me up. Okay, yeah, no, there is that flexibility. We've seen quite a lot of Gragas jungle actually in some of the ERLs recently, so I wouldn't be too surprised. The Volibear comes through for Kirei here in the jungle for Schalke, and we'll see what the final lock-in is. It is I thought it was a Kasing level troll here, but it is actually a Zilean lock-in for Schalke 04.
I like it. Okay, so the speed ups from Zilean are really, really good with people like Ryze and Viego, Volibear. Gives you a decent lane as well with this Tristana Zilean bot side. Quite interesting too. I think it's going to be really, really key to see how this lane plays out. I'm not an expert on Zilean by any means, but he's funky. And we do like to see some funky picks. And let's see here what Astralis decide to put their champions. I'm going to assume that's going to be a solo lane Lee Sin. I think he does.
Look, I mean, WhiteKnight has been playing a lot of solo lane Lee Sin recently, right? So it makes sense, and it is going to be the Gragas jungle.
Okay, so this is a little bit different to what we normally see coming from Zanzarah. Zanzarah more is kind of like the, well, like the Trundles, these kind of, I even think Volibear is quite a Zanzarah style champion as well, you know? And Gragas is not quite like that. He's not quite as beefy, doesn't like to run around and just like run into people's faces, that kind of thing. So a bit of a change here for him in the jungle, but on the side of Schalke, I think you've got a lot of power picks. And again, I want to see them play through bot side. They were able to do it so well yesterday against Fnatic, and it was a big reason why they were able to bring out that W.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how these two teams go. It will be their first 2-0 week in the LEC Summer Split, both of them vying for that accolade towards the end of the first round robin, and so you can see both of them extremely passionate about getting into this game. But for the time being, we are going to take a short moment before we get into game. Schalke versus Astralis coming your way.
And as the game kicks off, I'm joined by Schalke's Dylan Falco for the post-pick and back interview. Dylan, this is the first Zilean support, let alone a Zilean, that we're seeing this summer. So can you tell me more about the Zilean pick and how you plan to activate the Tristana bot lane?
I think Zilean is a pick that is actually pretty strong right now, but cannot be picked in very many situations. In this game, the enemy team actually blinded Braum in the bot lane and also in a losing bot lane matchup. So I think we're kind of able to greed a bit and pick something that can scale really well and synergize really well with our champions.
And also they blind picked Lucian and you decided to draft Ryze into it. Did you know that it was going to be a Lucian mid when you saw the Lucian? And how would Ryze have, what kind of lane phase would Ryze have into it?
Yeah, so Lucian is like a very common, obviously, pick in the meta, and it's usually mid, sometimes top, but I think given what we know from our scouting of the enemy team, we thought it would be mid. I think this is a matchup that can go either way. It definitely, Lucian can have a lot of early strength in lane versus Ryze, but at the same time, Ryze has a lot of kill setup and a lot of like ability to make plays onto the Lucian if he makes mistakes.
Thank you so much for your insight and best of luck. And I'll take you guys back to the LEC caster desk.
Thank you very much. Some great insight from Dylan Falco there. Unfortunately, promisq's level 1 roam did take a little bit of the wind out of the sails here from NUCLEARINT. He's already had to burn Flash very early on in the laning phase.
A lot of spotlight being put on him so far in this game. If you watched yesterday, there's good reason for that. He had an absolutely stellar game on that Twisted Fate versus Fnatic. So putting a little bit of pressure on him, you know, keeping him humble down there, blowing his Flash at level 1. Good roam from promisq, who also yesterday was really, really good on his map movements. I think he was probably Astralis' best player, arguably one of his best players yesterday, and the way he played the map was really impressive. Starting off really well here, right from level 1, getting that flash mid.
Yeah, and I think promisq has had some criticism fired towards him as of late. I think a lot of people have sometimes pointed the finger towards him. He has had a really good week this week, and I think he's silently proving the kind of the potential that this guy has been known to have for some time now, and I'm glad to see it. I think promisq's obviously doing some good work for Astralis here, and the whole Astralis roster seems to be slowly going from strength to strength. They're just ramping up, it feels, over the course of this split. But Schalke really feel like they're in the same boat. Like both teams are kind of finding success you know, at these key moments in the LEC, and this is where it matters most. Start getting the wins now, and you really ramp up towards those playoff spots.
It's funny, isn't it? It's this point in the season where, in the split, I should say, where you want to start putting out some wins to get to the playoffs. And if you start, like, let's say Exo, who just got a 2-0 week, it's like, great, we're now making moves and getting into playoffs. But wait, Astralis are winning, Schalke are winning as well. Like, everyone's just started winning towards the bottom of the table. So this playoff race is like going to get really spicy as these weeks continue and progress here. And you know, I think both these teams have definitely looked pretty good recently, and I think this game is specifically this game is gonna give a lot of anticipation to what we can expect going forward. Zanzarah is making his first gank of the game.
promisq, that was an aggressive flush coming out there. He gets taken down very low, gets taken down for first blood. NUCLEARINT exacts revenge, and Astralis are forced to run away. WhiteKnight does find the engage onto BrokenBlade, but won't be able to go much further. And just as we hyped promisq up, it was a little over-eager there.
Yeah, okay, that was a bit too much right there, but you know, you're playing Braum, you can flash in with the auto, get that passive stacking, and then from that point, doesn't matter if you blow summoners from Neon, you're still going to get hit with that stun and have that setup, or even limit here. But again, yeah, this is just a little bit too much right here, and doesn't even get the hit off, which really sucks. Like, if you, yeah, there's just... Oh. Unfortunate there, promisq has died a few times for first blood so far in this split. He did break that combo recently, but he's regained his crown right here and taking that one down. But it's okay, you know, it's okay. It's early days, we're not even 5 minutes into the game. Good response though from Schalke, and already getting that advantage through that bot side.
But also NUCLEARINT picking up the kill after the performance that he had yesterday. You give this guy an inch, he will take a mile. And that is a problem when you're ramping up on something like Ryze. Interesting little thing about that replay that we watched. promisq, I guess, jumped and tried to shield the bombs coming out from limit. Like, he didn't want to see a double bomb that would stun the potential engage, but he obviously neglected to push that shield towards Neon, who just got free basic attacks off. And that essentially was his undoing in that little engage, unfortunately. It was way too aggressive nonetheless, but I could see the idea behind promisq's play, right? It was a way of stopping limit from disengaging the fight easily, but it was just a little too over-aggressive.
Absolutely. Now moving ahead though into this game, what's done is done. Something I'd really want to see Schalke improve on in this game, from something that, you know, I've just been seeing a lot as I've been watching Schalke the split. I want to see Kirei have a bit more, well, maybe the team as well. It's more of a team effort. I want to see Schalke as a team, and specifically Kirei, have more information on where the enemy jungle is. And my goodness, does Volibear do a lot of damage to press the attack. Zanzarah is here to counter this play. Just going to disengage from this one, but whew, that was a lot of damage right there. But it's something I've noticed from Schalke specifically. Like, they just don't tend to know what the enemy jungle's up to too much. They don't always know what side of the map he's playing on. They don't always have great vision on him. And I just think that's something they can improve on. I think when you've got this Volibear into Gragas matchup especially, you don't have to be scared walking into the enemy jungle. If you do want to go a little bit over-aggressive, you can do that, because it's quite hard to punish in this specific matchup. I want to see Schalke do a bit more of that.
Yeah, I think also Kirei has had some question marks over him in terms of how much impact he's had. Even in their wins, you know, the kill participation's been low, but it looks like he's had a very proactive early game here. As we said, NUCLEARINT can set up these engages onto MagiFelix. That was the Rune Prison that did come down. The Lightning Strike forces the flash. And Kirei is being more proactive here for Schalke. And actually getting a lot of work done on the map right now.
And that's good. That's good news for Schalke. Like you mentioned, I do think there's been a bit of a spotlight on Kirei, and he hasn't been the best performing jungler so far in LEC. And, you know, I do think he has lacked a bit of that proactivity, but we've seen Kirei around for such a long time, especially you and me, Excoundrel. We've been doing like the regional leagues, EU Masters. Like, Kirei's always a name that comes up, and he's great. Like, he's honestly a very skilled jungler. He's always at the top of Challenger as well. He's one of the best solo queue junglers in Europe. Never been able to translate that onto the LEC stage. And I think getting a little bit more proactivity here, especially when you can pick something like the Volibear, which has more ability to actually go for these ganks and walk up and stuff like that. I mean, it's just more of the Kirei that I want to see.
And they utilized that mid lane pressure that they got by sending MagiFelix back to base to pick up the first dragon of the game, which will be an Infernal. Means we're not going to see an Infernal Soul this game. Of course, last game we didn't even get to the soul taking because XL were able to be so dominant. but obviously Soul is always something to consider as a win condition for both teams. We didn't really get much chance in draft, and maybe after this small little bot lane back and forth, we can have a little discussion about these comps and what you expect to see from them throughout the game. You know, we didn't get as much chance to discuss this at the start as we would have liked. Obviously, there was a bit of an insight from Dylan Falco talking a little bit about the setting up of kills and playing limit to sort of help facilitate the scaling with the Zilean. What do you see from Astralis? What are the strengths of this comp that you see coming up from Astralis?
I think Astralis have like better engage than Schalke do, and I think that's something that can work in their favor. Like especially WhiteKnight was able to get some really good flanks off yesterday, playing on that Renekton, getting a lot of good engages from that. On the Lee Sin, it's even easier. You know, you just walk up behind people and you can dash out, you can flash, you can kick someone. All sorted there. Gragas with his displacement as well. That's really nice. But I think, you know, Astralis looking to kite back with that Ezreal is going to be quite important when you think about Schalke's ability to walk and run at you. There's a lot of move speed on the side of Schalke, a lot of running towards you, and you're going to be wanting to kind of just kite back and play it chill where you can. And I think, you know, having an Ez on your team to do that is very, very handy.
So you mentioned at the start here, Foxy, the 2v2, the strength of the 2v2 from Schalke. They have obviously got a lane that naturally has a lot of priority into Braum. Like Zilean is going to naturally get priority into Braum. There's very little you can do for it, and really promisq, I think, was trying to execute on a window that would allow them to gain control of the lane with that engage. But that didn't work, and now Neon Limit. Now MagiFelix has to be a little careful here. NUCLEARINT jumps forward, the lightning strike comes down, and Kirei picks up the kill. Beautiful return gank on to MagiFelix in the mid lane, and that now might set up for that Rift Herald.
It's going to be beautiful stuff here for Schalke, you know, getting that early dragon, getting the early kills and the early Rift Herald. Like, you're just having your cake and eating it too. You're getting everything you want right here. Certainly no complaints from Schalke fans. BrokenBlade is going to play a little bit aggro here. Has to be a bit careful.
Oh, WhiteKnight got drawn into the team there. Had to be very careful. BrokenBlade baited him in. I mean, this is an aggressive defense of the Rift Herald coming out from Astralis. You can see that they're not keen to lose this objective. Kirei is taken low, though, and he's going to have to use the ultimate to get away, but gets dropped down, but has the Zilean ultimate. Look, he's untouchable. He's got no HP, but he's untouchable as the Zilean ultimate times out, but he trades 1-for-1 at the end of the day. WhiteKnight just desperately trying to escape from the pit. MagiFelix comes to the rescue. It's a 1-for-1 overall.
Both these teams aren't done just yet. They want to contest this Herald. It's really, really low. No jungler on both teams here. Who's going to get it?
Oh.
I don't know.
I don't think that was
Schalke.
Yeah, Schalke picked up, I think, and you can see promisq's just blocking it off here.
There it is. All right, so no, you know, it's a bit of a wash at the end of the day there with no team being able to pick up the Herald. I honestly think, though, bit of a misplay there from Schalke. They had the opportunity to just take that one, didn't play particularly well. I think they were a bit too aggressive, especially from BrokenBlade in an engage on the top side. Just look at, watching Neon play. I just always enjoy watching this guy play because he tends to be one of the more aggressive AD carries that we have, and he's never really been on like amazing rosters in the LEC. But even despite that, like, he's always put up good performances. He's always getting some pressure. And I mentioned at the beginning of the game, I think that Schalke performs best when they play through bot side, and they do have that advantage in bot side, and they have the Tristana who's able to now move around the map and pick up these plates for free with the bombs that she brings. And I just think it's, you know, Schalke are much better off for it. They're just having a really, really good early game here.
That's just something we were going to mention. You know, we were interrupted by the Rift Herald fight, but that natural priority that they got from the very early engages in the bot lane has allowed Neon and Limit to flourish this game. 4 plates naturally picked up, I think, in the bot side of the map here for that Tristana. As you mentioned, the rotation now into the top lane to funnel more and more plates onto this pick. They're going straight on. Nice cast to find the kill onto NUCLEARINT. You can see the teleport coming through now. BrokenBlade wants to find Zanzarah, and beautiful stopwatch, but I don't think it buys enough time as he gets knocked up. He is going to die, and BrokenBlade picks up the kill. The resurrection will come through in just a moment from the Zilean ultimate, but MagiFelix is popping off now, and MagiFelix has something to say about this. Astralis come out on top of a little engage.
And Schalke, we were just talking about how strong their bot lane is. Their AD carry, she's not there. She's on the top side. And Astralis is going to make the better use out of that engage, especially since they were able to pick off Ryze right at the beginning. Really, really, really crucial engage right there. That's the power of the Gragas. Really good at catching people out of position. Yes, there has to be a little bit cautious here. promisq is hovering, but there are a lot of warm bodies around the top side of this map. I want to get caught out. Be a little bit careful here if you are both teams. But either way, we're going to see more of a reset here. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. So Schalke now have two options. Either they stay topside and try and get this tower down, and they want to maybe send some more bodies topside to make that happen, or they want to get a push in, reset, and play for this dragon. Personally, I like the dragon play because of what we saw from them yesterday as well. If you get that soul timer going really, really early, then once you get to like 25 minutes into the game, you suddenly develop that win condition, and that becomes like really, really important. That can be something that's massive for your team. Oh my god, it's gonna be Cloud. They're gonna be so speedy with this Cloud Soul as well. Like, yeah, it's huge, really scary right now. If you're Astralis, you've got to be careful. You can't give away too many dragons now.
I think actually what also Dragon Soul provides is when you have these kind of little advantages that you're picking up throughout the game, it forces the enemy to react and have to respond to you more quickly. Like if you delay that soul, you give more time to the enemy to find the key item spikes that they want to fight with. But if you're just keeping the pressure on with those souls, it creates that countdown timer where eventually Astralis are going to have to contest you. Eventually Astralis are going to have to take you on your terms that you've set up around the dragon, and that favors Schalke realistically. And Zanzarah, my man, you have got. You are very brave. I'm gonna phrase it that way. That was a brave little invade onto Kirei's side of jungle. Now, promisq whiffs the ultimate here, but MagiFelix is coming into the fight. Nicely dodges away from the stun. There comes the culling as Limit's taken down low, but it won't result in a kill overall as he's able to just walk away.
Bit scary there for the top side. Schalke, a bit over aggressive there from Neon and Limit, but you can see as well the power of the Zilean pick. All this move speed, it's great if you're looking to run forward with people like Ryze, Viego, and Volibear, but it's also great if you're looking to run away. You just speed people up and suddenly you're in a pretty good spot. And when you look at the side of Astralis as well, like, you really want some like good hard CC to shut down the speedy boys, right? They don't have a lot of that. You know, you've got Braum, if he can apply an auto attack, gets that passive down, that's great. But his Q is pretty easy to dodge, especially if you're speedy. With the Gragas as well, with his ulti, you can dodge that one out too. So it might be pretty hard to navigate these team fights to actually get some good lockdown on the side of Schalke, you know, for Astralis' comp.
Yeah, you know, like you said, there isn't that, apart from the Rune Prison, there isn't that easy way to just like shut down MagiFelix or shut down Jeskla easily enough. And they obviously have the Braum to protect them as well. You know, if promisq's in that correct position, then team fights might prove a little difficult to play for Schalke, but they're trying to utilize their early advantage. They're trying to play through Neon. And I think what Schalke haven't done so far has been play around Neon as much as maybe they should have been doing. Neon clearly is, I don't know if we have the gold available, but Neon is, I'm pretty sure, the gold leader in this game with the amount of plates that have been funneled onto him and the CS advantage that he's got. He is the man that is kind of taking over for Schalke right now. Same as it was realistically versus Fnatic. Neon is doing the same thing in this Schalke composition and is really helping accelerate their game.
It's interesting to see Jeskla go for this Divine Sunder as well. It did get nerfed this patch for ranged champions. Not quite as good on Ez anymore. And we did see yesterday that people were opting more into the Triforce build on him instead. But still, going to get that one up, makes you a bit beefier and gives you the healing as well. And I think that would be nice, you know, for Jeskla when he's looking to kite back and stuff like that. You're just constantly slinging skill shots out, not necessarily hitting priority targets, but just hitting whoever you can. You're going to heal a decent amount off of that as Astralis. Now with the Predator engage,
onto Neon. Neon taken down very low here. He does have that Zilean ultimate to keep him safe, and that is something that Schalke have utilized to their advantage. In every skirmish, it has proved an issue for Astralis, and I think they're going to lose a tower off the back of it. I'll take, you know, do you know what, Foxy? I think it's a worth trade. I will take Zilean ultimate. I'll take Zilean ultimate and a couple of summoners for a tower. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's nerves of steel from Neon there. He was just standing there like baiting out the Gragas ulti. And Zanzarah missed it in the end because he was just kind of overthinking where Neon would position. That was just like, if that was me, I would have instantly just bricked it and I'm just, you know, whatever. And then you read me like a book and I'm just done, right? But no, that's really, really smart there from Neon. Getting that top tower as well as a result of that play with the Winions, but also bot side, because Astralis dedicating so many warm bodies to the top side of the map means bot side is left pretty open. And BrokenBlade is
I have to stop you, Foxy. You're using the term one bodies and it makes me feel weird.
In a good way, or?
Nope, in a very, very bad way.
Okay.
In a kind of weird way.
I'm just saying, it's 2021, and weird isn't necessarily a bad thing, but okay, I hear you. As soon as I said it that time, I was like, I need to stop saying this word.
Dedicating warm bodies feels a little weird to me. I'm going to be honest. Oh, my.
Well, is that not a phrase? That's legit a phrase, right? I'm not crazy.
I'm sure it is, but it's a phrase that I never want to hear again.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. Tepid something? Tepid... I don't know. I'm going to look up a synonym for body while you go ahead and just tell us what's going on.
Well, I'm not sure that tepid was a synonym for body, but I can tell you what, there are plenty of warm bodies here for Astralis as they pick up the kill onto Neon, setting up for that dragon. And this has been a strength of Astralis. It was a big reason that they did so well yesterday. Their execution around objectives. The kick is there. WhiteKnight jumps in. Not the flash you really were looking for. NUCLEARINT. And it's a beautiful setup as Jeskla, unfortunately, will drop to the rest of Schalke. But it should be a dragon secure for Astralis.
And that's really, really important right there, because now you're breaking the combo chain of getting that third dragon for Schalke, which would have put them on soul point. Obviously, really, really important for them. It's how they won. One of the reasons why they won their game yesterday. The Cloud as well. Very good for this Schalke lineup. And that's just a really good situation there for Astralis, finding themselves in, getting that pick onto Schalke. And take another look at it here. They just don't have enough people around. They just really don't. And it's a great engage. Look at that. Like, there's not really much counterplay to a flash body slam there, and you just see it. You know, yes, Neon's a little bit out of position, but you only have to be a little bit out of position for Gragas to punish you when he's got that flash body slam up. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I don't really know how or why Jeskla dies here, but hey, it's just a bit of charity work right there, giving back to Schalke. But all in all, good play there by Astralis.
Oh no, NUCLEARINT. You've just burnt flash, but the Zilean ultimate is there. That'll be enough to prevent Astralis picking up the kill, but he walked face first into that engage from Astralis. And I think you mentioned, and I'd love to talk about it, the setup didn't feel very good for Schalke on that third dragon. That's a relatively important dragon. It sets up soul point for you. They didn't really set up properly around it. And Astralis had such a good game yesterday where their pivotal moment was a 17-minute dragon fight. They've almost replicated that identically in this game.
Very true. Yeah, I just think they're a little bit impatient. Schalke didn't have enough people around, and because of that, they were outnumbered. And then Schalke found themselves on the back foot, which Astralis were able to really punish in that situation. And now, honestly, eyes turn towards the solo laners of Astralis. They have the upper hand here. Lucian, 300 gold bounty, 3-1-1. Lee Sin, 303, another bounty on him as well. 1.5 items for both of them, closing in on 2 items. Take a look at them. They're pretty strong, especially topside has a decent gap right there. But I really feel like, you know, Lucian into Ryze on the side lane definitely has an advantage, just straight up, just because of the matchup. You know, Ryze has to build some kind of armor if he wants to stay, if he doesn't want to die against Lucian, and he's not going to do that. So I think that's where the game becomes a little bit harder now for Schalke, knowing that in these side lanes they're going to be at a disadvantage.
And I have got the priority in mid here, which will pick up the mid lane tier 1. That opens up the blue and red side jungle for some more aggressive vision control. And now Zanzarah is the one who's caught out. Kirei finds the engage, should be able to easily pick this up for Neon, gifted the kill over. And that might actually set the Baron call here from Schalke.
They're all in position. They're all here at the Baron. Yeah, they're going for it. They've started it up, but this would be a bit risky. They're very squishy right now. Schalke are going to peel off.
MagiFelix there has to flash away as the ultimate from Ryze comes through, but Kirei's not done with this. He looks for the engage. BrokenBlade jumps in. MagiFelix is shut down. The bounty over to BrokenBlade. And that sets them up into a good spot. Now, I don't think you convert this easily into a Baron for Schalke, but they certainly picked up a couple of excellent kills.
Astralis should have played that one a little bit slower right here, because with Schalke's team comp, you don't have a tank. And at this point in the game, you just don't have that person who can sit there and soak up all of Baron's damage. Like, you don't do it fast enough, so you've got to do it over a period of time, and in order to do that, you have to be able to soak up the hits, which Schalke couldn't do. Volley is definitely not tanky enough for that at this point. Zanzarah, I'm not quite sure what he was doing there.
I mean, I think they looked like they were pushing aggressive vision into the blue side jungle because the promisq was also there, right?
I think you're right, yeah. I think you're right, and you can see some wards on the map as well. But, you know, this is where I just feel like Astralis have to play it a tad bit slower. Like, you've got the culling as well for MagiFelix, you've got Ezreal on your team. Like, you can throw out a decent amount of poke here and just play it slow. Like, it's not going to go down really fast. Like, sure, Schalke do have a decently quick Baron team, but honestly, at 21 minutes, it's not, like, massively fast. And you could throw some things out, but that's really good from Schalke though, just to find those picks, find people out of position, and just recognize as well, like they didn't want to stay onto the Baron, turn with the Realm Warp, and get some extra kills.
Now, Schalke seem to have just about wrestled control of this game back. We have another dragon spawning in 45 seconds. That would be soul point for Schalke. And I've got to mention that I think the clock is on their side. Like, they have a good scaling team. WhiteKnight, though, looking for BrokenBlade, won't actually be able to find the engage here. Went a little bit too early as Jeskla is just going to pop that ultimate to see if anyone has started up the Baron, which they have not. But you can see Astralis posturing around that mid lane. They're trying to gain some mid lane priority for this dragon. Is an important one for them to try and contest again. And you can see that just by getting that mid lane prior, they're setting up nicely for it.
I think the addition of the Zilean pick really helps the scaling of Schalke for two reasons. Firstly, he can itemize into some magic damage, which is always good, just getting a little bit more out there in those team fights, whereas Braum will never really contribute more. He'll just be tankier, and he's already, you know, he's just filling that role right now anyway. But also because of the way that Zilean synergizes with the carries, like they're just going to be even scarier as they get some items, you know, like he can speed up a lot of people. We're getting a lot of like back and forth here. Here's the TP flank from MagiFelix.
Yeah, and actually WhiteKnight, he baits it and picks up Kirei, who drops down. Now MagiFelix in the front line, BrokenBlade there as well. The ultimate from Braum won't find NUCLEARINT, but it is one kill, and it's the jungler, which should open up the dragon here for Astralis. I wanted to illustrate just before that fight. Did you see the way that Astralis were able to just constantly kite back?
Yeah.
You mentioned it. You mentioned it from Schalke. It's difficult for them to absolutely force an engage. Like they have the Volibear, but he's very telegraphed. They maybe can find a flank with the Ryze with his ultimate, but realistically, you could see the power of this mobile comp against Schalke. If you just kite back and make it difficult for them to engage, they take so much damage before the fight is even started.
You're absolutely right. I think maybe I even undersold it a little bit when I was saying, you know, Ez has got the range and stuff, but you look at Gragas, who's got his Q, his ulti, like he can disengage for days as well. Braum as well for similar reasons. MagiFelix has got no flash and probably no hope either of getting out of this one.
Yeah, I think unfortunately MagiFelix is pretty dead. But they are looking for a cross map here onto the Baron.
And WhiteKnight's in position. Here we go.
WhiteKnight looking for the kick, and Kirei immediately changes direction and limit. Now the target. WhiteKnight can't quite find the angle, and they can't find the engage. It's enough for Astralis to disengage, and Schalke get away with it, trying to stop that Baron.
Oh!
Oh! There it is! There it is! True shot barrage. And Limit wasn't expecting it, didn't even get to pop the flash or the ultimate, and it's a lovely little snipe from Jeskla.
Beautiful stuff. See, I think you kind of mind games in there a little bit, Jeskla, bud. If I were Limit, I wasn't expecting it there. If I was going to get ulted from Ez, I would have thought it happened like, you know, 10, 15 seconds earlier. Waits for it, gets him out of position. Beautiful kill there from Jeskla, picking that one up. I do think, you know, Astralis, something that's really impressed me in this game, and honestly watching them yesterday as well, is just the way that they're able to execute skirmishes. We see it's so important in the current meta. The team that can skirmish better, have better team fights in the mid game, often wins the game. And it's something that I've been very impressed with Astralis in general, just the way that they're able to play out these team fights. And I think specifically about the team fights, it's the way that they engage and disengage. Like, they know when to take the fights. And I think that's something that's really worked for them well in this game. And it's something that you're going to want to keep your eyes on, because a lot of their comp definitely hinges on their ability to choose and pick their fights smartly.
And they've been able to disengage away from Schalke over and over again. And now Zanzarah uses the Everfrost, just looks for some kind of angle here, but won't find it. You can see Astralis still haven't taken that mid lane tier 1, and Schalke are investing resources to keep that thing alive. If that drops, it gives Astralis way more opportunity to look for disengages. And you can see now BrokenBlade has to keep himself safe. Jeskla trying to snipe out Neon. It is a touchy scenario. Good body slam onto Kirei. He taken down very low. It is going to be the first kill for BrokenBlade. Finds the possession onto BrokenBlade, onto Zanzarah actually, and he will be looking for an engage where he can, but low HP bards across the board. This might be a risky Baron to go for, especially as WhiteKnight is continuing to push. I mean, this could be straight up an inhibitor for WhiteKnight.
Oh, but it's going so fast now. I mentioned, like 20 minutes, it wasn't so fast. 27, different How fast is this Baron dying?
Oh my goodness, it is just burnt to the ground, and that is the engage they're coming for. That's the ultimate from Kirei. Finds Jeskla, the shutdown is there, resets are happening, and promisq's next on the menu. Double kill for Neon. MagiFelix desperately running away as BrokenBlade looks for further engages. I think MagiFelix should be able to get away here. He dives into his own base, but Astralis, okay, big question here. Should that have been a force on the inhibitor tower rather than going for the engage on the Baron?
I think you might be onto something, honestly. I mean, I honestly also feel like Astralis were just caught off guard of how fast this Baron died because, yeah, I mean, it's just such a strong comp for taking away Baron, especially once you get those second items, Viego getting the Blade the Ruin King, things like that. Absolutely crazy for taking Baron down, and it was just a good pick onto Zanzarah. I think, honestly, like, either you dedicate to it earlier, you know, like WhiteKnight TP's in much earlier to try and dissuade, because as we saw, those health bars were kind of low from Schalke. Maybe you could fight the 4v5, but if not, yeah, you just maybe want to go for bot side instead. But as they got it,
yeah.
Schalke just took everything.
I'm not saying that he had time, by the way. I couldn't predict whether he had time or not. There's obviously a discussion to be had around whether he had time to actually go for the inhibitor regardless. But what I will say is that is an example of the way that Schalke want these fights to go. They want Astralis to face check them because then Astralis can't kite back. If Astralis have to walk towards you, it is an easy engage for Schalke, and they are happy to take those engages wherever. You can see again, promisq, he has to walk into them, and that's what Kirei wants. He wants the engage this way, and promisq drops as NUCLEARINT picks up the kill. It is a perfect example of the way these fights are supposed to go for Schalke, and that is a big body to take down because that is obviously a good disengage tool, a good stalling tool in these team fights for Astralis, and he is now dropped into the floor.
And it's all exacerbated as well by the Zilean pick. Dylan Falco said they could maybe greed into it, but it's a strong pick, but with the lane setups, and good synergy with their team as well. And it's paying dividends, honestly, being able to speed up your otherwise a little bit lackluster engage here. And just a team that wants to run at you can run at you even faster with the zoomies from Zilean. You know, it's just paying off massively here, and they're going to turn towards this dragon now. Or are they going to bait it? Ooh, it's going to get a bit spicy maybe.
They've got absolute vision control. You can see the true shot barrage comes through, hits everybody on the way to Dragon, but with the man disadvantage, or rather the setup, I would say right now on the map, this should be an easy Dragon. If you thought Baron went down quickly, Dragon just disappeared, and that is finally sole point for Schalke. They got a big Baron power play out, by the way, 4,400 gold off the back of that Baron take, and that is a huge swing in their advantage. This was an even game until that Baron take, but finally Schalke have established themselves. Big flank coming through. It looks like BrokenBlade. He's got the zoomies. He is a fast emo man, and he is looking for the sideline flank. Goodness gracious.
Wow, yeah, Far TP coming in with his Converse, White Lightning, checkered belt, everything.
Converse really do make you go faster, apparently.
It's true,
but there
man,
you go.
it's true. Beautiful stuff, and if nothing else, like it pushes Astralis to the other side of the map, and then Schalke able to get that fast rotation and quite fast enough for Astralis to get back in. But it was a good map movement here from Schalke.
It was an ambitious flank. But maybe he was looking to set something else up. They don't quite manage to get the pressure of the bot lane to pick up that bot lane inhibitor tower, however. And maybe now Schalke just going to reset and maybe slowly set up towards that soul. The thing is for Schalke, Foxy, is that we've seen the way that their team fights work well. Their team fights work well when Astralis are forced into a difficult situation. They don't have division control, and they have to walk through the fog of war to face check them. And that's when Schalke are like, cool, you're never going to kite back easily versus this. You're walking into our engage range, we go for it. Without objectives on the map, or without areas to kind of force Astralis to face check, it does become difficult to look for the fights that you want. So that's why you might see a lull in action now for Schalke, because they need to wait for something to force Astralis into an awkward scenario.
Absolutely, and it's also just why it's so hard when there are objectives on the map for Astralis to navigate, because they do then have to walk forward. And as we've seen multiple times this game, that's exactly what Schalke wants, and Schalke are very good at punishing Astralis in those situations. So just going to be a little bit of the, as you say, a bit of a lull, bit of the vision game here, just establishing control on the map so that when these objectives do spawn, you're in a good position for it. And, you know, you can have that vision and be able to make the turn happen with that speedy Zilean, with that Realm Warp if you want to go for it as well. You can see a lot of third items are coming through here from the side of Schalke too. Fourth item, excuse me, from Neon.
Fourth item for Neon,
that's
yeah.
a whole item ahead on an auto-attack champion. Yeah, that's... She's going to
scary,
hurt.
isn't it?
Yeah, she's going to hurt.
I think we briefly talked about it earlier, Foxy. You mentioned the scaling advantage that Schalke have got. Just, I mean, maybe not in terms of mechanics of team fights, but in pure just champion scaling ability. Tristana and Ryze, they scale really well. Zilean is a great scaling support in terms of that utility that he offers as the game progresses. And especially for Neon, that strategy of just funneling yet again. Zanzarah might be just face checking here. You can see that True Shot Barrage will do enough to ward away. Now, MagiFelix has to be careful. The culling comes through, will dive away from Kirei. That is a big engage from WhiteKnight onto that front line, but he gets rooted up immediately. Forced to use the kick on the back line. You can see BrokenBlade doing work as that's a nice disengage from Zanzarah using the stopwatch, using the Zhonya's to buy him some time. Astralis do get away with it, but they lose that second tier tower in the top lane.
It looked like it could be pretty bad there for Schalke, getting a little bit too greedy. She's just, I mean, a character model that short, moving that fast is just ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it just is.
I think this is it. This is the Baron. It started up, and you can see Astralis are going to be forced into an awkward scenario to respond to this. They have got a relatively decent looking at the setup here. WhiteKnight's looking for the angle. He kicks Limit straight into the fight, and Limit gets dropped. That's no Zilean ultimate, but they do lose the Baron in the meantime. It did absolutely melt like before, and Astralis desperately trying to convert more than just a single kill. I'm sure Schalke will be okay with trading their support's life for the Baron.
It's just a hot knife through butter, man. That's exactly what this team comp is for Schalke into neutral objectives. The single target DPS is ridiculous. Like illegal levels of damage right there. BrokenBlade here, looks like he was caught, but he's a pretty new champion to the game, so I think he might want to go for that 1v2. Decides not to in the end.
In terms of champion newness to 1v2 potential, he's definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you judge a champion's strength, right? When were they released? Just sort by newest first, and you'll get a pretty good list of meta champions.
Oh man, but yeah, that scaling advantage is coming through, and I think the next big objective, the setup that we have to look towards, is going to be Schalke's ability to set up on this Dragon Soul. Again, Astralis need to look for it, and I think for Astralis, they need to win fights the way that we've seen them win fights before, like the ability to kite back, to make it difficult for Schalke to actually land their damage. But obviously, as the game progresses, the more levels they get onto Neon, that becomes harder and harder to do. And Kirei, he finds he walks head first into them, has that Zilean ultimate available, and he'll stop the ultimate as they proc it down. That is a good start and a nice explosion. Zanzarah's set up there. Oh! Beautiful. And Neon kicked into the fight. WhiteKnight is huge, and he gets the kill as well. The Astralis setups around objectives have been absolutely nutty. Astralis, how do you do it?
They keep getting away with it, and they are just so good around Dragon. Every single time they set up these team fights, it's just a treasure to watch. And again, you saw it a little bit too far forward from Kirei, just a tad. And yes, you do have good engage, you are speedy with Zilean, but the damage from Astralis, if you are kiting back, it's still so much. You have to respect it. Not enough respect coming through there from Kirei, and he does watch pretty fast.
Please watch Zanzarah, because it was nutty. It was so good.
Perfectly timed ulti, gets the body slam without even going over the wall, and WhiteKnight here as well with his ult onto Neon. Yeah, it's just, they're just so good at this. Like, they really are. They're one of the premier teams in the LEC at doing this stuff.
Oh,
here it goes. Yeah, it's just beautiful. And then look at WhiteKnight. Yeah. Here he goes again.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, okay, so a few seasons ago, we had jungle metas which included solo lane champions. For example, Karthus Taliyah, right? And watching junglers play these solo lane champions was always a little bit painful, okay? They weren't great at landing the lane wastes and the skittles. They weren't great at those threaded volleys. But watching solo laners play high-skill jungle champions, specifically now that Lee Sin is a solo lane champion, is so beautiful. They're so good at it. I don't know what it is, but they are genuinely just some of the best Lee Sin mechanics. out of anyone that we've seen, even from junglers.
That fight illustrated exactly what we've been talking about, the mechanics of the engage for Schalke. They can't find a good route into a fight here. They don't have a way to just push a button and say, okay, we engage. And Schalke and Astralis' ability to kite back, to keep the distance, to maintain that space between them and the crucial members of Schalke, it is clearly showing in their setups around these objectives. When Astralis are first to the objective, exactly, WhiteKnight. Oh man, he is just so good at finding these picks. That is the immediate engagement. Look for Zanzarah, he finds it, but WhiteKnight's in there. Oh my god, WhiteKnight, you're an absolute bloody beast! And now Schalke are routed towards their own base. This could actually just be game. Astralis off the back of what looked like a terrible last 5 minutes in the space of 2 team fights have been able to turn the game around. What a performance from WhiteKnight. What a performance from Zanzarah. And the way they played these team fights have been excellent. It's not done just yet, but it is a 5 versus 3. A double AD carry team is always going to find the engage as WhiteKnight goes in again, shut down onto Viego. This should be the game for Astralis. Good. What a beautiful display from WhiteKnight. What a beautiful display from Astralis in the way that you team fight with this team. I have to give credit. They deserve the credit for that win. I mean, it wasn't even Schalke playing bad, right? It was not Schalke playing bad. I don't want to give the wrong message. It was just Astralis playing well. And they really, really, really did Foxdrop.
Their setups towards the end of that game around those objectives just absolutely insane. And no, your eyes do not deceive you, boys and girls of the LEC. This is a 2-0 Astralis weekend, followed by previously a 2-0 XL weekend. I'm not sure what these teams have eaten for breakfast, what's gotten into them this weekend, but not only have they got these 2-0s, but they've looked really good doing it as well. And I've just been very impressed with a lot of different factors. And for Astralis, just the way they played those team fights.
Really good. And you guys at home get the chance to decide on who was the most impactful with Arkia player of the game. WhiteKnight, MagiFelix, or Jeskla. Look, I'm just saying, I'm just going to I might know who I would be picking in this scenario. Just going to leave that one out there, you know.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's relatively fair. Look, we're going to hear from MagiFelix after the break about the Astralis 2-0 week before it's time for SK Gaming and Fnatic to hit the rift. We'll see you soon.
Planet and us are connected. We share its veins. We can continue to clog them, or do something about it. By using millions of recycled plastic bottles in our new generation of durable washer and washer-dryer tubs, we reduce plastic waste from leaking into nature's veins. Discover Beko's eco-tub washers and washer-dryers for healthy living on a healthy planet.
from the break, a great week for Astralis as they go 2-0, first against Vitality, then against Schalke. MagiFelix, thank you so much for joining me. How does it feel to go 2-0 after a five-game losing streak?
For us, it was like the losing streak was kind of expected because we were like facing all of the greatest teams, right, in the league. And now I feel like once we're like facing the like slightly weaker teams, we are way more confident that we can like take games off them. And I feel like we showed it today that, you know, we are not like one of these like bottom tier teams that loses to everyone, and we actually have like a fairly good shot at like taking down the middle tier teams and like making playoffs. So that's like our goal right now. And like this victory today like makes us a bit more confident that we are actually, you know, going to make it.
Because despite the schedule, Foxdrop also did comment during his cast that he's impressed not only with the 2-0, but the way you guys are achieving those victories and praising your performance. Did Astralis make any particular improvements between last weekend and this weekend? Did you notice in scrims, or was there any difference that you personally noticed?
And for us, it has been like in scrims, we always like were a very like aggressive team, and that we're like good at making these creative plays, like creative, proactive plays. We were like catching the enemies off guard. And I feel like it wasn't really translating as well, like to the stage games, like for the past few weeks. But I feel like today and yesterday, it really showed that, you know, we can be like one of these like playmaking teams if we are like confident in ourselves. And I think that's what we showed today.
And with this victory, Astralis is actually now on 4 victories and 3 losses in the LEC standing. What kind of further improvements would you like Astralis to make between now and the next week for the rest of the LEC?
Well, I feel like our biggest weaknesses so far have been like in the early game. Like I feel like every time we are like behind in the early game, and it's kind of rough to play the game, you know. But when we are ahead, we like snowball the game really quickly. So I feel like if we can like, you know, fix these early game mistakes, like for example in this game we had like the double TP bot lane where like both our waves were like slow pushing into the enemy team, so we lost like a lot of minions for that. Like mistakes like these, it's like if we can like fix them, then I think we'll be a lot better as a team.
With many of the mid-tier LEC teams bouncing back, especially during this weekend, the LEC standings looks more chaotic than ever. So I've been asking this question a lot. Will Astralis make it to the playoffs, and if so, how?
I mean, you can't know for certain, right? But we are pretty confident that, you know, it is possible for us to actually make it there. We just need to like, you know, focus on our own performance and hope that it carries through. I mean, right now it's like in the league there's like a lot of close teams like in the standings, right? I feel like there's no like clear favorites for every game except for like maybe, you know, Rogue and Fnatic. They're looking pretty strong, but every game is like winnable for us, and as long as we are like confident and like we trust in ourselves and make good plays, I feel like it is very possible that we make playoffs. Yeah.
And best of luck in this journey. Thank you so much for this interview, MagiFelix.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And after the break, we will be back with SK Gaming versus Fnatic as we ask the question, can Fnatic bounce back? So please stay tuned.